There was a call, a quiet whisper that reached out to you when no one else did. It wasn't loud, it wasn't demanding. It was an invitation, a chance to step into something greater, to receive what heaven had been holding just for you. But you skipped it. You told yourself later, I'll get to it, I'm busy. And the moment passed. Do you know what happens when you skip what was meant to save you? The door doesn't slam in anger, it closes in sorrow. Because the one who called you knew what you were missing, knew the healing that was waiting, knew the breakthrough that could have been yours, and so God says, I'm sorry to all who skip. Not because he failed you, but because he knows what you refused to take. You think you're skipping something small. You think you're just ignoring a moment, a prayer, a chance to listen. But you're skipping miracles. You're skipping protection you didn't even know you needed. You're skipping answers you've been begging for, not realizing they were right there if only you had shown up. And still, he calls, still, he reaches, still, he says, come, even after you've ignored him 100 times, even after you've chosen distraction over destiny, even after you've pushed him aside. He doesn't close his hand, he extends it again, because love doesn't quit, even when it's skipped. But understand this, one day the whisper will become a final knock. One day the open hand will no longer wait, and when that day comes, you won't regret what you did, you'll regret what you didn't do. You'll regret skipping the very thing that could have rewritten your story. There is a moment when heaven speaks, and it is never with noise or chaos. It is a gentle whisper, a soft nudge in the soul, a quiet invitation that reaches out when the world is screaming for your attention. It does not demand, it does not force. It simply calls, and when it calls, everything in the unseen world pauses, waiting to see what you will do. But so often, that call is ignored. It is skipped, as though it were nothing. You tell yourself, I'll get to it later, not realizing that later is the most dangerous word you will ever speak. Later has robbed more people of destiny than failure ever could. Later convinces you that there is always time, when time is the one thing you do not control. When heaven opens its door and whispers, it is never just about the moment. It is about what that moment carries. Every divine invitation carries something you cannot see yet. That prayer you skipped, it held strength for the battle you didn't know was coming. That word you ignored, it was the answer to a question you hadn't even asked yet. That stirring in your heart you brushed off, it was the beginning of a miracle you needed. But you didn't show up, you were busy, distracted, preoccupied with things that seemed urgent but held no eternal weight, and so you skipped the one thing that actually mattered. Understand this, God does not call because he needs you. He calls because you need him. He already knows the road ahead, the traps set against you, the storms gathering beyond the horizon. When he invites you closer, it is not to burden you. It is to shield you, equip you, and position you for what you cannot yet see. But when you skip, you step into the unknown without the covering that was meant for you. And then, when trouble comes, you wonder why heaven feels silent, forgetting that silence often follows an unanswered call. It is not that he withdraws out of anger. It is that he cannot force you to take what you refuse. Love never chains you. It leaves you free to choose, but freedom without wisdom is the fastest path to loss. And so, while you skip, heaven waits. It waits and grieves, not because you are unworthy, but because you are unaware. You are walking past treasures disguised as simple moments. You are bypassing instructions that could have spared you heartbreak. You are declining an invitation that will not always remain open. There will come a time when the whisper stops feeling like a whisper and begins to feel like an ache in your spirit. That ache is mercy giving you another chance. But even mercy has a final moment. Doors do not stay open forever. The opportunities you skip will not circle back endlessly. Some things once missed cannot be recovered, And that is why heaven mourns when you skip, because it sees what you cannot. It sees the fullness of what was prepared for you, now sitting untouched. This is why God says, I'm sorry to all who skip, not because he has failed, but because he knows the weight of what you are missing. He knows that one yes could have shifted everything. He knows that one moment of obedience could have saved you years of wandering. He knows what was waiting on the other side of your answer, and so he whispers again, one more time, come. Don't skip this, not again, not this time. When love reaches out, it carries weight beyond what words can hold. It is not casual. It is not shallow. It is not temporary. When heaven calls, it is love extended in its purest form, a love that has counted every hair on your head, seen every tear you never let fall, and understood every unspoken cry of your heart. But what happens when that love is ignored? What happens when a hand stretched in grace is met with indifference? The pain is not of ego, for God has no insecurity. The pain is of longing, for you, for what he knows you could have been, for what he designed you to carry but watch you walk away from. This is the pain of rejection, not as the world knows it, but as eternity feels it. Every time you turned away from his invitation, it was not a transaction declined. It was a relationship postponed. You thought it was just you skipping a moment of prayer, dismissing that tug on your heart, silencing that still, small voice, but to heaven it was more. It was like watching someone you love run toward a cliff while you hold out a hand to pull them back, only to see them ignore it and keep running. It is not anger that fills God's heart in these moments. It is grief. Grief over what he knows is coming when you choose to do life without him. Grief over battles you will face unarmed because you refused the armor he tried to give you. Grief over blessings you will never see because you never stepped into the room where they were waiting. Do you know why he says, I'm sorry to all who skip? Because he knows what you don't. He knows the weight of every missed encounter. He sees the ripple effect of every closed door you chose not to walk through. That skipped whisper of guidance, it would have led you away from betrayal. That ignored nudge to forgive, it would have freed you from chains you cannot see. That moment you brushed off as not important right now. It was the key to the very breakthrough you've been begging for, and he is sorry, not because he failed you, but because he loves you enough to feel the loss you don't even realize you've suffered. And still, he does not stop loving. Still, he calls again. That is the paradox of divine love. It is strong enough to feel pain, but relentless enough to keep pursuing. Think about that for a moment. Any human being who is rejected repeatedly eventually walks away. They protect themselves, they close off, they refuse to be vulnerable again. But God, he has been rejected by generations, ignored by nations, forgotten by those he blessed. And still he calls, still he reaches. Still, he whispers your name in the quiet of the night when no one else knows what's breaking you. That is not weakness. That is strength beyond comprehension. But make no mistake, love can be endless in depth, yet limited in opportunity. There comes a time when mercy must give way to justice, when the open hand must close because time has run out. And on that day, the pain of rejection will no longer be God's, it will be yours. You will feel the weight of every moment you skipped, every call you ignored, every opportunity you let slip through your fingers. That is why he warns you now. That is why he says, I'm sorry, because he would rather grieve now than see you grieve forever. So what will you do with this love that still reaches for you? Will you keep skipping it, thinking you have tomorrow, or will you finally answer, while there is still time, heaven is still calling, The hand is still stretched out. The question is no longer whether God loves you enough. It's whether you will love him back before the final moment passes. There comes a moment when the whisper turns into a knock. It is not loud at first. It is gentle, almost hesitant, like rain tapping against a window in the night. You may hear it and dismiss it, thinking there will always be another sound tomorrow. But this is not just any knock. This is the final one. The one that carries the weight of every invitation you've ignored, every call you've skipped, every moment you've brushed aside because life felt too busy, too loud, too demanding. This knock does not come to ask politely. It comes to remind you that time is not endless. Life is not a cycle that repeats forever. It is a journey with a destination, and the path narrows the closer you get to the end. There is a day appointed when choices will no longer be available, when grace will no longer be an open door, when the opportunity to answer will be gone. And that is why this final knock matters. It is mercy's last attempt to save you from what silence will mean. For so long you have been invited. For so long you have been called. For so long the hand of God has reached for you while you turned away. But every later you spoke has brought you here, to the edge of what may be your last chance. This final knock is different because it carries urgency you cannot ignore forever. It will show up in your thoughts when you're trying to sleep. It will echo in your heart when you're surrounded by noise. It will come as conviction you cannot explain, as an ache in your spirit that no distraction can numb. This is not pressure from religion. It is the pull of eternity. It is heaven saying, I cannot let you walk away without one last call. But here is the truth that should shake you. Final does not mean announced. You will not know it is the last knock until the door no longer opens. There is no sign that says, this is your last chance. There is only the quiet reality that one day the call will stop and you will wish you had answered. The tragedy of eternity is not that people are not invited. It is that they are invited and choose not to respond. Do you understand what hangs in the balance? It is not just about avoiding loss. It is about gaining what was always meant to be yours. Every answered call leads to life, to purpose, to a peace this world cannot give. Every ignored call leads to emptiness that no success, no relationship, no distraction can ever fill. And the final knock stands between those two realities. Right now, the knock is here, not tomorrow, not someday, now, and it is not asking for perfection. It is asking for surrender. It is not asking if you have everything figured out. It is asking if you are willing to open the door before it closes for good. You have been given this moment as mercy. What will you do with it? Will you keep waiting for a better time that may never come, or will you recognize the urgency of now? The door is still open, but not forever. The hand still knocks, but not endlessly. The voice still calls, but not without end. Answer, while you still can, even after everything. After the invitations ignored, the calls skipped, the doors walked past. His hand is still open. That is the mystery of divine love. It does not slam the door the first time you turn away. It does not give up at the first sign of indifference. It waits, it lingers, it reaches again. How many times have you brushed him aside? How many moments have you filled with everything but him? And yet here you are, breathing, alive, reading this now, a sign that his hand is still stretched toward you. You may have failed 1,000 times, but he is still saying, come. You may have walked away over and over, but he is still whispering, there's room for you here. That is not weakness, that is not desperation, that is mercy, stubborn, relentless, unshakable mercy. Do you understand what that means? It means you are not too far gone. It means the mistakes you made last night, last year, last decade have not disqualified you from what he prepared for you. It means the shame that has chained you in silence cannot keep him from reaching out. It means that as long as you can still hear his call, there is still a chance to answer. The open hand is proof that love has not let go, even when you did. But do not mistake an open hand for an endless one. This is not permission to keep running, keep ignoring, keep skipping. This is grace giving you one more moment to decide. The enemy wants you to believe you've gone too far so you'll stop trying. God shows you his open hand so you know you can still return. The enemy whispers, "It's too late." God whispers, "It's not over yet." But one day the whisper will stop, not because he is unwilling, but because time itself has ended. The open hand is a gift, not a guarantee. Look at your life right now. How many times did you almost lose it all, and yet somehow you're still here? How many times did you think it was over, and something unseen pulled you through? That wasn't luck. That wasn't coincidence. That was his open hand catching you when you didn't even know you were falling. You didn't earn that. You didn't deserve that. But love gave it anyway, and now he is offering more than just survival. He is offering life. Real life. The kind that fills the emptiness that nothing else has touched. The kind that restores what was stolen, heals what was broken, and gives purpose where there was only wandering. But you have to take it. An open hand does nothing for the one who refuses to reach back. Mercy cannot change the heart that won't respond. Love cannot force its way into a door that stays locked from the inside. This is your moment to choose. Don't wait for another sign. Don't wait for a perfect moment that will never come. This, right here, right now, is the sign. The fact that you are being reminded again is proof of his patience. The fact that you are reading these words is proof that the door has not yet closed. But it will, and when it does, what side will you be on? The side that reached back and found life, or the side that waited until there was no more time to wait? The hand is still open. What will you do? Will you skip again and risk losing everything that was meant to be yours? Or will you finally take hold of the love that refuses to let you go? The choice is in front of you. The hand is right here. And the question lingers in the air, heavy with eternity. Will you answer, or will you miss the last chance you were ever given?